Captain June Frairen stood tall on the bridge of the Stellar Vanguard. His eyes were fixed on the large screen in front of him. The screen showed a strange blue light that twisted and moved like water. This light was not supposed to be there. It had started as a small dot 3 days ago. Now it was as big as a small moon. "What do you make of this, Commander Rimiki?" he asked, turning to the woman at his right. Hana Rimiki was the smartest officer on the ship. She had saved them many times during the war. Her quick thinking had pulled them out of traps set by the Vostok, the aliens they had fought last year. Now the war was over, but new problems were here. "I don't like it, sir," she said in her clear voice. "This light pattern is not natural. It's growing too fast. It reminds me of what we saw in the Giol Nebula." Frairen nodded. What happened at the Giol Nebula was still fresh in his mind. They had lost 2 ships there when a hole opened in space. That hole had closed quickly, but not before it pulled in those ships. No one knew where they went. The bridge was quiet. Everyone was busy at their stations, but Frairen could feel their worry. These people had been through so much together. He looked around at his crew. Day sat at the communications desk, her fingers moving fast over the controls. Her job was to listen for any signals from the blue light. So far, there was nothing. Minji was at the engineering station. Her dark eyes were focused on numbers that told her how the ship's engines and shields were working. If they needed to run or fight, Minji would make sure they could. Taiho was bent over the science screens. His job was to study the blue light and figure out what it was. By the way he kept shaking his head, Frairen could tell he had no answers yet. "Captain," Taiho called out suddenly, "the light is giving off new energy readings. They're getting stronger." As if to prove his point, the ship shook slightly. The blue light on the screen pulsed, growing brighter. "Minji, how are our shields?" Frairen asked quickly. "Shields at 92%, Captain. We can handle this, but I don't know for how long if it gets worse," she replied. Frairen walked closer to the main screen. The light was now spinning faster, like water going down a drain. But instead of getting smaller, it was getting bigger. "Set alert status to yellow," he ordered. "I want everyone ready if we need to move fast." Yellow lights began to flash around the bridge. This meant the crew should prepare for possible danger. "Day, send a message to Admiral Sunwoo. Tell him, we have another anomaly, bigger than the last ones. Include all our sensor data." "Yes, Captain," Day said, already sending the message. Frairen turned to Rimiki. "What's your gut feeling about this, Commander?" Rimiki was looking at the tactical display. It showed their ship and 3 others that were patrolling nearby. They were the only human ships in this part of space, right on the edge of Vostok territory. "I think we should move back, sir," she said finally. "Keep a safe distance, but stay close enough to watch." "And if something comes through?" Frairen asked. He valued her opinion more than anyone else's. "Then we'll be the first line of defense," she said simply. Frairen nodded. Rimiki never sugar-coated things. It was one of the reasons he trusted her so much. "Helm, back us off to 10,000 kilometers. Keep the anomaly in sensor range," he ordered. The ship hummed as it moved backward, away from the growing blue light. "Taiho, I want a full scan of that thing. Use all sensors," Frairen said. "Already on it, Captain," Taiho replied, not looking up from his work. "It's definitely a breach in space, like a tunnel or a door opening where there shouldn't be one." "A way? Door to where?" Frairen asked. "That's the big question," Taiho said. "Not to another place in our space. The energy readings suggest somewhere else entirely." "Another dimension?" Rimiki asked, moving to look at Taiho's readings. "Possibly," Taiho nodded. "The math checks out." The ship shook again, harder this time. "Energy spike," Minji called out. "The breach is releasing gravitational waves." Frairen grabbed the edge of a console to steady himself. "Status of the other patrol ships?" "The Dauntless, Horizon, and Pioneer are all holding position behind us," Day reported. "Captain Kim of the Dauntless is asking if we need assistance. Tell her to maintain position." "No need to risk more ships," Frairen said. He looked at the tactical display again. 4 small ships against whatever might come through that breach. Not great odds, but they'd faced worse during the war. "Captain," Rimiki said quietly, stepping closer to him. Do you think the Vostok might be behind this? It was a good question. The Vostok had been quiet since the peace treaty 6 months ago, but that didn't mean they had given up. They were a proud race who had fought humans for 5 years over territory and resources. I don't think so, Frairen said after thinking about it. This isn't their style. Their tech isn't this advanced. Then, who? Rimiki asked the question they were all thinking. Before Frairen could answer, the ship shook violently. Everyone grabbed onto something to keep from falling. Status! Frairen called out when the shaking stopped. Shields holding at 85%, Minji reported. That was a big one. Captain. Taiho's voice was high with excitement or fear. The breach is opening wider. I'm detecting something coming through. All eyes turned to the main screen. The blue light was now a swirling circle. In the center, something dark was appearing. It grew larger as they watched. Can we get a better image? Frairen asked. The screen zoomed in. The dark object was becoming clearer. It was smooth and black, with strange lines of light running across its surface. It was huge, at least 3 times the size of the stellar vanguard. Is that a ship? Day asked, her voice hushed. It appears to be, Taiho confirmed, but unlike any design I've ever seen. Not human, not Vostok, not any known species. Are they powering weapons? Rimiki asked, moving to the tactical station. The officer there shook his head. No weapon signatures that I can detect. But our sensors can't penetrate their hull to get a clear reading of what's inside. Day, open all channels, Frairen ordered. Let's try to talk to them. All channels open, sir, Day confirmed after a moment. Frairen straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. This is Captain June Frairen of the Earth Alliance vessel Stellar Vanguard. You have entered Alliance space through unauthorized means. Please identify yourself and state your purpose. They waited. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. No response. Try again, Frairen said to Day. Different frequencies. Before she could comply, every screen on the bridge flickered. The main view screen changed from the image of the alien ship to show a face. The face was almost human, but not quite. The skin was silver gray, the eyes large and completely black. There was no hair, just faint markings on the scalp that looked like circuits. Human vessel. The being spoke in a musical voice that seemed to come from all around them rather than just the speakers. I am Navigator Seol of the Keonji Collective. We have crossed the wave to meet your kind. Frairen stepped forward. Navigator Seol, your arrival is unexpected. How did you create that breach in space? The wave is not our creation, Captain Frairen, Seol replied. It is a natural pathway between realms. We have merely learned to use it. What is your purpose? Here? Rimiki asked, stepping up beside Frairen. The alien's black eyes seemed to study them both for a moment. To warn you, Seol said finally, and to seek your help. A great danger follows us. It will find your world soon, with or without our presence. We had hoped there would be more time to prepare, but the wave has been breached sooner than we predicted. What? Danger? Frairen asked. Are you talking about the Vostok? Seol made a gesture that might have been a sad smile. The Vostok are nothing compared to what comes. The Devourers have found the scent of your realm, Captain, and they hunger for new feeding grounds. The breach grew larger by the minute. It was now a swirling circle of blue-green energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The sensors on the Stellar Vanguard were making loud warning sounds as space itself seemed to tear open before their eyes. Shields at maximum, Frairen ordered. He held tightly to his command chair as the ship shook from the waves of strange energy coming from the breach. Through the main window they watched as a massive object emerged from the breach. It was long and black, with odd shapes and lines of light running across its surface. The alien ship seemed to swallow the light around it rather than reflect it. It was at least 3 times bigger than the Stellar Vanguard. Unknown ship type, Communications Officer Day reported, her fingers moving quickly over her control panel. It doesn't match any design we know. Not human, not Vostok. Rimiki moved to the weapons station. No signs of weapons powering up that. I can detect, but their hull is strange. Our scanners can't see inside it. The alien ship now hung still in space. The breach behind it slowly began to close. For several long minutes nothing happened. No messages came from the ship. It didn't move at all. Open a channel to them, Frairen ordered. All frequencies with translation systems on. Before Day could do this, the main screen on the bridge suddenly turned on by itself. A face appeared. A face that looked almost human, but not quite. The being had silver-gray skin and completely black eyes that seemed to have no pupils. It had no hair, and its head had faint markings that looked like tiny lines or circuits. Human vessel, the being spoke. Its voice was musical and strange, but everyone could understand the words. I am Navigator Seol of the Cheonji Collective. We have traveled through the wave to make contact with your species. Frairen stood up, straight. This is Captain June Frairen of the Earth Alliance ship Stellar Vanguard. Your arrival was not expected. Please tell us why you are here. Navigator Seol looked at them with those strange black eyes. Captain Frairen, we come with an important warning. The wave has been broken into and what follows us will not be friendly. Your war with the Vostok was just the beginning. The real danger is coming. Rimiki stepped forward to stand next to Frairen. What danger? And how do you know about our war? We have watched your world for some time, Seol said. The walls between dimensions are getting thin. The Devourers can sense it. They will come for both our peoples unless we work together. Dimensions? Taiho said from his science station. You're saying you're from another dimension? Another reality? Yes, Seol answered. What you call space is just one layer of reality. The wave connects many layers, many worlds. We have learned to travel these paths, but others have learned to use them to hunt. Frairen looked at Rimiki. Her face showed that she was thinking hard about all this. He turned back to the screen. These Devourers, what are they? What do they want? They are ancient, Seol said. They are hungry. They feed on energy. All energy, including the energy of life itself. They destroyed our homeworld. We are the last of our kind. We have been running from world to world, but we cannot run forever. The bridge was quiet as everyone took in these words. How do we know you're telling the truth? Rimiki asked finally. This could be a trick, a way to make us let our guard down. Oh, fair question, Seol nodded. With your permission, Captain Frairen, I would like to come aboard your ship with 2 of my people. We will bring proof of what I say. Data you can check yourself. Frairen thought for a moment. It could be dangerous to let these aliens onto the ship. But if they wanted to attack, they could have done so already with their much larger ship. Agreed, he said. Day, tell security to meet us in Docking Bay 3. Rimiki, you're with me. 20 minutes later, Frairen and Rimiki stood in the docking bay with a team of 6 security officers. A small ship had left the Cheonji vessel and was now connecting to their dock. What do you think? Frairen asked Rimiki quietly. I don't know what to think, she admitted. Another dimension? Creatures that eat energy? It sounds like an old scary story. But that breach was real, and their ship is like nothing we've ever seen. The airlock door opened with a hiss. Navigator Seol stepped through with 2 other Cheonji. In person, they were tall and thin. They moved with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. Their silver gray skin had a slight glow to it under the ship's lights. Captain Frairen, Commander Rimiki, Seol said with a small bow. Thank you for allowing us to visit your ship. Welcome aboard the Stellar Vanguard, Frairen said formally. These are my security officers. I hope you understand the need for caution. Of course, Seol replied. In your position, I would do the same. He gestured to his companions. This is Engineer Kaya and Science Officer Jun. We have brought the data I promised. Jun held out a small crystal device. This contains our sensor readings of the wave breaches in this sector. It also has images of the Devourers and records of their attacks on other worlds. Taiho, who had joined them in the docking bay, stepped forward. Our systems may not be compatible with yours. The data crystal will adapt to your technology, Engineer Kaya explained. Her voice was softer than Seal's but just as musical. It is designed to interface with many different systems. We should take this to the science lab, Taiho suggested. Frairen nodded. Agreed. Commander Rimiki, please escort our guests. I'll inform Admiral Sunwoo of the situation. In the science lab, Taiho placed the crystal into a scanner. At first, nothing happened. Then the crystal glowed brightly, and the screens around the lab came to life. They showed images and data that made everyone's eyes widen. These breaches, Taiho said, studying the screens. They're forming all across this sector of space, not just the one we saw. Yes, Jun confirmed. The wave is becoming unstable. The walls between dimensions are breaking down. That's how the Devourers find new feeding grounds. Another screen showed a dark, shifting mass that seemed to be made of shadows. It moved like a cloud but had purpose and direction. The recording showed it surrounding a planet. As they watched, the lights on the planet's surface went out one by one. That was Nellis Prime, Seal said quietly. A world 2 layers removed from yours. 8 billion lives, gone in less than 1 day. Rimiki felt a chill run through her body. How do you fight such a thing? It doesn't even look solid. The Devourers exist between states of matter, Jun explained. They can be solid when they wish to be, or like gas when it suits them. But they can be hurt. We have developed weapons that disrupt their form, resonance technology that forces them to become solid so they can be destroyed. And you'll share this technology with us? Rimiki asked. Yes, Seal said, we must work together. The Devourers are drawn to energy. Your sun, your cities, your ships, all are beacons to them. When they come, and they will come, we must be ready. Later, in the meeting room, Frairen sat with Rimiki and his senior officers. Admiral Sunwoo's hologram stood in the center of the room. Let me understand this correctly, Sunwoo said, his face showing doubt. These aliens claim to be from another dimension, and they're warning us about energy-eating monsters? Yes, Admiral, Frairen confirmed. And they've provided data that matches what we've been seeing with these space anomalies. Science officer, Taiho has checked their findings. It's all mathematically sound, Taiho added. The breaches aren't random, they're growing in number and size. Sunwoo's hologram flickered slightly. And you believe them? After everything we went through with the Vostok? Frairen looked at Rimiki before answering. I think we need to take their warning seriously, sir. If they're telling the truth and we ignore them, we could be facing something far worse than the Vostok War. Very well, Captain, Sunwoo said after a moment. Continue to work with these Cheonji. Learn what you can. But be careful. We can't afford another conflict right now. Understood, Admiral, Frairen replied. As the hologram disappeared, Rimiki turned to Frairen. So now we're working with aliens from another dimension to fight energy monsters. Frairen almost smiled. Just another day in deep space, Commander. What's our next step? She asked. We learn everything we can, Frairen said. About the wave, about these Devourers, and about our new allies. Because if Seol is right, we don't have much time. Admiral Sunwoo's image stood tall in the meeting room. The blue light of the hologram made his stern face look even more serious. He walked back and forth, his hands behind his back. Frairen, Rimiki, and the other officers watched him think. Let me make sure I understand, Sunwoo said, stopping to look at Frairen. These Cheonji beings say they are from another world, another dimension, and they are running from something called the Devourers? Yes, Admiral, Frairen said. That's what Navigator Seol told us. He has given us data about the breaches, the places where space is torn open. Science Officer Taiho has looked at their information. It matches what we have been seeing. Taiho stepped forward. He pushed his glasses up his nose and cleared his throat. The math is real, Admiral. These tiers in space, what the Cheonji call wave breaches, are showing up more and more. We've found them in 3 areas now. The Cheonji have ships that can travel through these breaches safely, but they say other beings have learned to use them to attack new worlds. Sunwoo frowned. And we're supposed to just believe them? We just finished a war with the Vostok. We can't afford another fight right now. Rimiki stood by the window. She was watching the Cheonji and human workers outside. They were fixing strange crystal devices to the ship's hull. Navigator Seol called them resonance dampeners. He said they would help protect the ship. Commander Rimiki, Sunwoo called. You're very quiet. What do you think about all this? Rimiki turned to face everyone in the room. The Cheonji have better ships and better weapons than us, Admiral. If they wanted to attack us, they could have done it already. I think they are telling the truth. Minji nodded. She had been working with the Cheonji engineers. Their power systems are amazing. They make clean energy from what they call dimensional friction. They say they will teach us how to do it too. But why help us? Asked Day, who was sitting at the table. What do they get from this? The door to the meeting room slid open. Navigator Seol walked in with two other Cheonji. Their silver skin seemed to glow under the room's lights. We get to live, Officer Day, Seol said. His voice was soft, but everyone heard him clearly. The Devourers ate our homeworld. We are all that's left of our people. We have been running from world to world, but we cannot run forever. Seol lifted his arm. He touched a small device on his wrist. A 3D picture appeared in the middle of the room. It showed a huge, dark shape. It seemed to change from solid to gas and back again. It had no clear form. The Devourers are not like us, Seol explained. They exist between states of matter. They eat energy, all energy, including the energy of life. They followed us through the wave and will be here in 15 days. Alone, neither of our people can stop them. Together, we have a chance. Frairen looked at Rimiki across the room. Their eyes met. Both were thinking the same thing. Could they trust these strangers? Admiral Sunwoo stepped forward. His hand passed through the image of the Devourer. If these things are coming, why not just close the breach? Seal it somehow? We tried that on our world, Seol said. His eyes looked sad. The Devourers can make their own breaches once they know where a world is. They are drawn to energy. Your sun, your cities, your ships, they can sense them all, and so what do we do? Frairen asked. How do we fight them? Seol turned off the image. The dark shape disappeared. We have weapons that can hurt them. Resonance technology that disrupts their form. We can teach you how to build these weapons, but we need your help to make enough of them in time. And if we say no, Sunwoo asked, if we don't believe you, then you will die, Seol said simply, just as our people did. The Devourers do not talk. They do not make peace. They only hunger. The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking about what Seol had said. Finally, Frairen spoke. Admiral, I believe we should help them. And let them help us. Sunwoo's hologram flickered slightly. He was thinking hard. I'll need to talk to Earth Command. This is bigger than just our fleet. But until then, Captain Frairen, you are authorized to work with the Cheonji. Learn what you can. Prepare your ship. Yes, Admiral, Frairen said. Rimiki, Sunwoo continued. I want you to be our eyes. Watch the Cheonji. Make sure they are who they say they are. Understood, sir, Rimiki replied. After the meeting, Frairen found Rimiki in the ship's observation deck. She was looking out at the stars. The Cheonji ship floated in the distance, its strange hull still a mystery. You're worried, he said, standing next to her. Aren't you? She asked. 4 months ago, we were fighting the Vostok. We lost good people, good ships. Now we're asked to trust these new aliens and fight some monster we can't even see properly. Frairen nodded. The universe just got a lot bigger and a lot scarier. Do you think we can trust them? Rimiki asked, still looking at the Cheonji ship. I don't know. But I think we have to try. If they're telling the truth, we need their help. Rimiki finally turned to look at him. And if they're lying? Frairen gave a small smile. Then we'll do what humans always do. We'll find a way to win anyway. The next week was very busy. The Stellar Vanguard was changed in many ways. Cheonji technology was added to the ship's systems. The main guns were rebuilt to make resonance weapons, the only thing that could hurt the Devourers. The crew trained with Cheonji teachers. They learned new ways to fight, new ways to think about space. The wave, as the Cheonji called it, was like an ocean between worlds, and something was making big waves in that ocean. 3 more breaches opened in nearby systems. Each one was bigger than the last. Earth Command finally agreed that the threat was real. They sent 7 more ships to help. Frairen was in the engine room looking at the new power core. It glowed with a blue-green light. Minji was checking the systems. "Will it work?" he asked her. "I think so," she said, not looking up from her work. "But it's like nothing I've ever seen before. The Cheonji engineer said it draws power from the space between spaces, whatever that means. And our old systems? Still working as backup. But this new core gives us 3 times the power. We'll need it for the resonance cannon." Frairen nodded. "Good work, Minji. Keep at it." He left the engine room and headed for the training deck. There, Rimiki was working with a mixed team of human and Cheonji fighters. Despite looking thin and fragile, the Cheonji were very strong and fast. "Again," Rimiki ordered as a practice fight ended. "The Devourers will come at us in waves. They will try to get to our power systems first. We must protect those areas." Navigator Seol approached Frairen as he watched the training. "Your people. Learn quickly, Captain. There is much about humans that is impressive." "You've been watching us for a long time, haven't you?" Frairen asked. "Before you came through the breach." Seol nodded. "We needed to be sure you were ready. Not all beings can handle the truth about what lives beyond their world." "And what truth is that?" Frairen asked. "That the universe is bigger and more dangerous than you can imagine," Seol replied. "But also that you are not alone in fighting to save it." Later that night, Frairen sat in his room. He looked at the battle plan one more time. 8 Earth ships, 3 Cheonji ships, against an enemy they had never seen before. His door chimed. "Come in," he called. Rimiki entered. She looked tired but ready. "The fleet is in position," she reported. "The newest breach is getting bigger. Taiho says something is definitely coming through this time." Frairen stood up. "Then we'd better be ready to meet it." The next 12 days went by very fast. At first, many people in the Earth Alliance did not believe the Cheonji's warning. They thought it might be a trick. But then 3 more breaches opened up in nearby star systems. Each one was bigger than the last. Now everyone could see that the danger was real. Frairen found himself working as a bridge between humans and the Cheonji. His ship, the Stellar Vanguard, had been changed with Cheonji technology. It would lead the fleet that would try to stop the Devourers. "The resonance cannon is working now," Minji told Frairen as he walked into the weapons room. "But I still don't understand half of how it works." "As long as it does work," Frairen said, looking at the big new weapon. It gave off a strange blue light and hummed softly. The cannon was huge. It took up space where some of their old weapons had been. But Seol said it was the only thing that could hurt the Devourers. It fired energy that could break apart their strange bodies. In another part of the ship, Rimiki was training fighters. She had both humans and Cheonji in her group. Even though the Cheonji looked thin and delicate, they were very strong and could move faster than any human. "Once more," Rimiki ordered as the practice fight ended. "The Devourers will attack in waves. They will go for our power systems first. We must hold our positions and protect those areas." The fighters nodded and got ready to start again. They were tired, but they knew what was at stake. Navigator Seol walked up to Rimiki after the training. "Your warriors learn quickly, Commander. There is much about humans that we find impressive." "Yet you watched us for a long time before you made contact, didn't you?" Rimiki asked. "We needed to be sure you were ready," Seol said. "Not all beings can face the truth about what exists beyond their world." "And what truth is that?" Rimiki asked. That the universe is larger and more dangerous than you can imagine. Seol replied. But also that you are not alone in fighting to save it. On the bridge, Officer Day worked with a Cheonji to create a new communication system. It would work even when the breaches cause problems with normal signals, Captain, she called when Frairen entered the bridge. We're getting reports from the outer defense line. The fourth breach is growing very fast. It will be fully open in about 11 hours. Frairen's face became serious. Tell all ships to get ready for battle. Later that night, Frairen sat in his room. He looked at the battle plans one more time. 23 human ships. 7 Cheonji ships. It did not seem like enough against the threat that Seol had described. His door made a sound. Come in, he said. Rimiki walked in. She looked tired but determined. The fleet is in position, she reported. 8 Earth Alliance vessels at the front, the others behind in a support line. The Cheonji ships are on the flanks. Frairen nodded. Good. How are our people? Scared, Rimiki said honestly, but ready. They've been through a lot in the past year. The war with the Vostok made them strong. And the Cheonji crew members? Frairen asked. Working well with our people. Better than I expected. They're very focused on the mission. Frairen stood up and walked to the small window in his room. Outside he could see some of the other ships. Their lights shone in the darkness of space. June, Rimiki said, using his first name, which she rarely did. If we don't make it through this, we will, he cut her off, turning to look at her. We've faced bad odds before. Not like this, she said quietly. This is different. This is bigger than us. Frairen nodded slowly. Maybe, but that's what makes humans special, isn't it? We face the impossible and we find a way. Rimiki smiled a little at that. It was the first time Frairen had seen her smile in days. A loud alarm suddenly rang through the ship. Both of them ran for the bridge. Status report, Frairen called as they entered the bridge. Tejo was bent over his screens. The breach is expanding rapidly, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts. All crew to battle stations, Frairen ordered. Power up the resonance cannon, shields at maximum. The ship came alive around them as everyone moved to their positions. Lights changed to red, showing they were now at the highest alert level. The other ships are reporting ready, Captain, Day said from her station. Through the main window they could see the breach. It was like a wound in space, bleeding red and blue energy. It pulsed and grew larger as they watched. Navigator Seol entered the bridge. He went straight to a special console that had been set up for him. The breach is almost fully formed, he said. The Devourers will come through soon. Remember, they are not like ships or people as you know them. They can change their shape. They can split apart and come back together, but the resonance weapons will hurt them if you hit them directly. Understood, Frairen said. He sat in the captain's chair, his back straight. Rimiki, take tactical. She nodded and moved to the weapons console. All ships, this is Captain Frairen, he said, opening a channel to the fleet. Form up an attack pattern Delta. The smaller ships should stay behind the cruisers. Your shields won't hold against direct attacks from the Devourers. The fleet moved into position. The largest ships formed a front line, with the smaller, faster ships behind them. Navigator Seol, Frairen said. What can we expect when they first come through? Seol's face was grim. They will be hungry. They always are. They will head for the largest energy source they can sense. Which would be what? Frairen asked. Your son, Seol replied. But it's too far for them to reach quickly, so they will target our ships instead. The larger the power source, the more they want it. So they'll go for the biggest ships first, Rimiki asked. Yes, Seol said, which is why we must protect the flagship at all costs. The Cheonji flagship was the largest ship in their fleet. It held their main dimensional drive, the technology that allowed them to travel through the breaches safely. Captain, Tejo called out. I'm detecting movement in the breach. Something's coming through. Everyone on the bridge watched the main screen. The breach pulsed once, twice, then seemed to split open wider. Through the tear in space came not a ship, but a cloud, a dark, shifting mass that seemed to be made of thousands of smaller parts all moving together. "The Devourers," Seal whispered. The cloud paused. It seemed to be looking at the fleet. Then it surged forward with shocking speed. "All ships, open fire," Frairen ordered. The space between the fleet and the Devourers lit up with weapons fire. Regular lasers and torpedoes passed right through the cloud without effect. But the new resonance weapons had an impact. Where they hit, parts of the cloud seemed to break apart and fade away. But there were so many of them. The cloud split into smaller groups, each heading for a different ship. "They're learning our attack pattern," Rimiki warned. "Switching to random firing sequence." The battle had begun. Now they would see if humans and Cheonji together could stop the hungry darkness that had come through the breach in the wave. The breach looked like a wounded star, bleeding red light into the blackness of space. The defense fleet held their positions, all weapons ready. Every captain and crew member watched their screens with tense faces. "Energy levels rising," Taiho reported on the stellar vanguard. "Something big is coming through." The view screen showed the breach pulsing. It got smaller for a moment, then suddenly grew much larger. Through the tear in space came not a ship, but a swarm. Thousands of dark, twisting shapes that moved together, like one giant being. "The Devourers," Navigator Seal said quietly. The swarm stopped for a moment, as if looking at the fleet of ships. Then it rushed forward with terrible speed. "All ships attack now," Frairen ordered. The battle exploded with bright lights as all ships fired at once. The resonance cannons worked well, their special energy breaking apart the Devourers where it hit them. Parts of the swarm disappeared when hit, but there were so many of them and they moved so fast, the swarm split into smaller groups. They went after different ships in the fleet. 3 Earth Alliance ships were surrounded within minutes. The Devourers wrapped around their hulls like dark fog. The ship's power systems drained quickly, and their lights went dark one by one. Cheonji's ship flew straight into a thick cluster of Devourers. It glowed brightly for a moment, then exploded. The blast scattered the attackers, buying time for nearby ships to escape. "They're going for the flagship," Day shouted as the main swarm regrouped and headed toward the largest Cheonji vessel. "Set course to intercept," Frairen ordered quickly. "Minji, give the engines everything they have." The stellar vanguard moved forward fast, placing itself between the swarm and the Cheonji flagship. The resonance cannon fired non-stop, cutting a path through the attackers. "Captain," Rimiki called from the weapons station, "I see a pattern in how they move. They aren't just attacking randomly, they're searching for something." Navigator Seal's eyes widened. "The dimensional core. They can sense it on our flagship. If they get it, they could open permanent breaches," Taiho finished, his voice filled with fear. The vanguard shook hard as parts of the swarm attached to the ship's hull. Warning lights flashed across all control panels. Power levels dropping. "Fast," Minji reported. "They're draining us quicker than our systems can handle." "Send all power we don't absolutely need to the shields," Frairen ordered. "Minji, can you change the resonance cannon to create a feedback pulse?" "It might burn out all our systems," she warned. "Do it anyway," Frairen said firmly. As Minji worked quickly at her station, Rimiki realized what Frairen was planning. "You're going to create a resonance cascade?" He nodded with a grim face. "If we can't destroy them all, we can at least close this breach." "The calculations must be exact," Seal said, joining them on the bridge. "Too much power, and you'll make a tear that could make the breach bigger instead of closing it." "Then help us get it right," Frairen challenged. For the next few desperate minutes, as the battle raged around them and systems failed throughout the ship, Seal, Taiho, and Minji worked to reconfigure the cannon. The swarm continued to thin their defenses. Ship after ship went dark. "It's ready," Minji finally announced. "But we need to get much closer to the breach." "Helm, set course," Frairen ordered. "All remaining ships fall back to secondary positions." The vanguard limped toward the breach, trailing energy as parts of the hull were damaged. Rimiki moved to stand beside Frairen as he gave the final order. "Fire." The modified resonance cannon, fired a bright beam that hit the center of the breach. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the energy bounced back, grew stronger, and created a wave that covered both the breach and the swarm in blinding light. The shock wave hit the Vanguard hard. Systems overloaded all over the ship. As emergency red lights came on, Frairen and Rimiki watched through the main window as the breach collapsed, taking the remaining devourers with it. Did we win? Day asked, breaking the silence. Taiho checked his screens, which were only partly working now. The breach is closed, space is stable again, but what? Frairen asked. There are still tiny cracks in the space around us. This isn't over. The breach was just the beginning. Navigator Seol nodded seriously. The Devourers will find another way through. They always do. But today your people proved they are good allies in this fight. As repair teams worked to fix the Vanguard's systems, Frairen looked out at the stars. The universe had just become much larger and more dangerous. But humanity had faced its first test against this new threat and survived. Commander, he said to Rimiki, send a message to Earth Alliance Command. Tell them we're going to need more ships. Rimiki allowed herself a small smile. Yes, Captain. And what should I tell them about our new allies? Frairen held out his hand to Seol. After a moment, Seol took it in the human way of showing friendship. Tell them the wave has been breached, and nothing will ever be the same again. Later that night, after the reports were sent and the repairs were underway, Frairen sat alone in his quarters. A soft knock came at his door. Enter, he called. Rimiki stepped in. The fleet is regrouping. We lost 5 ships. The Cheonji lost 2. Not as bad as it could have been. Thanks to you, Frairen said. Your idea to target the resonance pulse at their center mass made the difference. Rimiki shook her head. It was a team effort. But what happens now? Seol says there will be more breaches, more devourers. Now we prepare, Frairen said, standing up. We learn everything the Cheonji can teach us about the wave and these dimensional breaches. We build better weapons. We make more allies if we can. You think there are others out there? Rimiki asked. Other beings who know about the wave? There must be. If the Cheonji found a way to travel through it, others have too. Rimiki nodded slowly. This changes everything we thought we knew about space, about our place in the universe. Yes, Frairen agreed. But that's what exploration is about, isn't it? Finding new horizons. A call came through on Frairen's communication device. Captain, this is Taiho. I think you need to see this. Minutes later, Frairen and Rimiki stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen. It showed a star map of their sector. Small points of light were flashing in 7 different places. New breaches? Frairen asked. Starting to form, Taiho confirmed. Smaller than the one we just faced, but growing. Navigator Seol had joined them. He looked at the map with sad eyes. It's beginning. The wave is becoming more unstable. The barriers between dimensions are breaking down. Why? Frairen asked. What's causing it? We don't know, Seol admitted. That's what we've been trying to discover. Something or someone is weakening the walls between worlds. Rimiki studied the map closely. The breaches form a pattern. Look, they're arranged in a perfect circle. Frairen saw it too. That can't be natural. No, Seol agreed. It cannot. Frairen turned to face his crew. Send word to all ships. We're not going home yet. Whatever is causing these breaches, we need to find it and stop it. As the stellar vanguard moved toward the nearest new breach, Frairen knew their victory today was just the beginning. A new chapter in human history had started, one that would take them beyond the stars they knew through the wave, to worlds they had never imagined. And whatever waited for them there, Frairen, Rimiki, and their crew would face it together. End of episode.